There's a moment in the book of Nehemiah that every man need to hear. And it's found in Nehemiah 6, verse 15 and 16. And this is what scripture says. So the war was finished on the 25th day of Elul in 52 days. And it happened when all our enemies heard of it, and all the nations around us saw these things, that they were very disheartened in their own eyes, for they perceived that this work was done by our God. I love this account. If I was to do a thesis statement for the book of Nehemiah, I think it will come from this. Because this shows what can happen when God's hand is on your life. Look at the admission here, and look at who is admitting this. The enemy is admitting God did this. Not talent, not the ability of the children of Israel, but God did this. And I love it because scripture says they were very disheartened, because these guys were working hard to stop them, to discourage them, to mislead them. They tried every trick in the book to stop them. But at the end, they came to the realization there is nowhere we were going to stop this, because God was with them and at work in their lives. Now, I have coined a core principle from this book, the book of Nehemiah, and it is this: when God's hand is on a man, the results of his obedience will exceed the limits of his ability. Let me say it again. When God's hand is on a man, the results of his obedience will exceed the limits of his ability. And let that settle in, because we are talking here of the results of your obedience, not the results of your intelligence, not the results of your networks, not the results of your resources, but the results of your obedience will exceed all this, will exceed the limits of your ability. And this is the deal that God puts on the table, that if you can come partner with me, I'll put my hand on your life, and I'll do things in your life and through your life that exceed the limits of your ability. Think about Nehemiah. You see, Nehemiah was not a builder. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a seasoned leader. He was a cupbearer, a servant who tasted the king's wine. There's no record showing that he was a master builder, an experienced builder. We don't have that record. But yet, this man is involved in this building project. By the world standard, I think he would have been disqualified. And I think, if you brought experts to look into this man, can this man do this? The answer would be probably not the right man. And yet, if a man can partner with God, God can do with you and through you whatever he says he wants to do. There's nothing impossible with God. Look at the Bible. The Bible is full of people who are supposed to be rejects, people who don't qualify for the job at hand, and yet those are the people he chooses. He chooses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. And so what was the secret? The secret did not lie in who Nehemiah was as a man. It lay in that Nehemiah was willing to surrender. He was willing to say, yes, Lord. He was willing to weep and to care about what was broken. He took a step to pray. And as he prayed, God touched his heart, put it upon his heart, go rebuild the wall. And then he gets up and begins the journey. He takes steps of faith, even steps that were scary to him, but he took them. And then we reach this moment where the wall has been rebuilt by a man who had a burden, a man who chose not to sit, a man who said, with God, all things are possible. and they are possible with him who believes. He believed, he surrendered. And my challenge to you today, will you be that man? Will you be that person who says, Lord, everything around me seems broken, it's broken ruins. I see my marriage, my business, my family. Just things just seem impossible. I cannot do it in my own strength. But I'm calling you today to believe this principle that when God's hand is on a man, and as you surrender to him, his hand will be mighty and strong upon your life. When God's hand is on a man, the result of his obedience will exceed the limits of his ability. God will do in your life and through your life things that people, when they look, they can only say, this can only be the doing of the Lord. And that's really what it's about. It's about our lives being used for the glory of God. And God does that by doing things that are impossible in our own strength, in our own ability, so that people can see this can only be the working of the Lord. So my challenge to you, are you building with your strength, or are you building with God's hand? God is inviting you because he wants his hand might on your life, and he wants to do things through your life that will be a miracle. It will be a 52-day miracle. Now, I'm not talking about just days as actual days, but it will be clear that a job or a work or an achievement or an accomplishment that should have been done over a period of time is done in record time because it was the Lord building. So do you take